Don't throw that away. Now, before you toss that crumpled brown paper or old tissue, let me show you a simple way to turn junk into absolutely gorgeous collage papers using only a few easy techniques. Welcome to the studio, it's Froyle here, and today we're going to be using recycled paper packaging to make absolutely fabulous, beautiful collage papers that's going to help you with your mixed media projects. Now at my house, I tend to get a lot of brown paper. It comes wrapped around all of the glorious and absolutely necessary art supplies that I just have to have. So what I like to do is flatten out the brown paper and then scrape over it with white acrylic paint to create a nice clean surface texture to be able to make some collage papers. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and this paper is absolutely free. Baby, you can't get more affordable than free. Once the paint has dried on the paper, I like to add some stencils. I'm using the fabulous new Lunar paste that I totally love with some of my dashes stencils, and I've also got some beautiful white pearl in the stencil butter on my crosses. I love using these beautiful papers in my collage, and they make really good additions to my scrap bags. They can be just the little piece or the cherry on top that you need for your creative projects. Now, stamping is so darn easy. You just splat it on some paint and smack it on that paper. You don't even have to think about it. I'm using my number stamp. You'll find these stamps and stencils at PM Artist Studio. Have a look there on the website, and you'll also find this one, my fabulous script stamp as well. It makes fabulous texture, especially for an all over covering on the paper. Using my favorite iridescent bronze fine, how can you lose? Now I like to use recycled white tissue that comes around fabulous things that turns up in the post, but you can also use the dollar store tissue. It works just as well, and it's just as cheap, bro. I'm telling you, these papers are so cheap and they make such good collage materials. So, stamps going on the fabulous white. This tissue looks like it's been recycled, but I think the next one was a dollar store tissue. Works the same, looks fabulous. Whack those stamps on, baby, you can't lose. The white tissue can be used for so many different techniques, and it's so cheap to buy. And when you're at the dollar store, get yourself some black tissue as well. Look how stunning this stamping looks on the black tissue. I'm using my dashes stamp in gold, and then I'm busting out my dance moves. Beautiful little stamps. I think this is gold as well, although I do tend to use the bronze and the gold, and sometimes both at the same time. Because on the black it looks so beautiful and it contrasts so well, and we always need a little bit of metallic bling. So I'm on a roll. I've got the crosses going on as well, and I'm piling up the papers. They're covering my floor. They're now everywhere. But we can't stop. There's too many exciting ideas, there's too many things to try. Now, the white dollar store tissue is absolutely perfect. Actually, you can use the recycled tissue as well for one of my most favorite collage papers. Make sure you have plastic down on your table because you're going to need it. Put the white tissue down, and then we're emptying out the bottoms of the bottles. So I've got my favorite bronze. It empties out really fast, but there's always a little bit of pigment at the bottom of the bottle and down the sides of the bottle. So you fill that with water, you give it a really good shake, and then you squirt it onto the white tissue. It looks absolutely fabulous, and the patina color, the greeny color, which is a phthalo green in the mix, I'm thinking, separates, and it creates this beautiful tone of what looks like, you know, antique brass kind of a color. And the bonus is you get to use up all of the pigment in the bottle. I love this, it works so well. Of course, you can use anything on the tissue. You can use watercolor, or you can use pigmented inks, or you can really use anything, but you have to tip it on, spray it with a whole heap of water, and then leave it alone. If you poke at it, particularly while it's wet, it will tear to shreds. You must leave it completely to dry. You must have it on plastic tablecloth, or you'll never get it off your table. So what I like to do is use up any of the little bottles that I have that have a tiny bit in the bottle. I threw on some bronze, I threw on some blue, I think it was the Cerulean Blue Deep. There was just a bit left in them. I love emptying out the pigments onto the tissue. Spray it with a lot of water. Don't be cheap on the water. It doesn't cost you anything because you want that organic flow. You want the patterns that it creates. They're flowing together in harmony and all I can see is that I got to use up all of those expensive pigments, and it makes the absolute fabulous best paper. And then you have to leave it. Now, how long do you leave it? Well, it depends where you live. Are you in the Antarctic? You're going to have to leave it for a mighty long time. But if you're somewhere warm and sunny, just leave it overnight. I always leave it overnight because it needs to dry entirely before you pull it up off the plastic. Look how good the colors are looking, absolutely stunning. They're all mixed together, they're all blended, they're all working so well. This is definitely one of my absolute favorite papers. I do it quite often and I make them up in different color batches. I use up all the pigments in the bottom of my paint bottles, inks as well, and then I put them into my packs, inspiration packs, or even scrap bags. They work really well for that. It's fabulous, it's easy, and it makes a whole heap. We're making a whole heap of papers all at once in a creative frenzy, and I find that's the best way to make them because you had a huge pile then for other days when you just feel like collaging or working in your art journal or doing something a little bit more quiet, especially after you've been laying on the couch groaning. So on a good day, you've got to make the papers. Right, the other really affordable paper that I like to create in this frenzy of printing and stamping and stenciling is the beautiful music papers. You get them really cheap from the thrift store or secondhand store. Pull them out of the books, and I again like to put the white acrylic paint on them because it just knocks back that music line a little bit, so when you print on it or stamp on it or stencil on it or pull an image transfer on it, it just knocks back those lines just a little. You can still see the music, but it's not overpowering. So I love putting the stamps and stencils on these music papers. I've got some crosses, some what I call the Art Deco shapes, and some of the fabulous dance moves in the stencil butter and the lunar paste. It's all going on. It's all happening now. And don't they look beautiful? The papers look absolutely fantastic. They work so well. They're great little collage elements in themselves. They're fabulous for the scrap bags, or you can use them for background papers. So now that we've made some basic papers with printing and stamping, stenciling, let's kick it up a notch and do something a little bit more tricky. Image transfers. Yes, I love jelly print image transfers. Some would say obsessed, but I just say I love them with a passion. So I've got this fabulous color laser print of my little treasure, and I'm going to put her on the plate with a muted violet, one of my favorite colors. I have found that this Liquitex full body paint works really well every time. Just saying, every time it works really well. Put her on the plate. Oh, voila, just like magic. She looks perfect. Now, once your transfer has dried completely, I'm putting on this Liquitex paint called Transparent Mixing White. And what it does is it knocks back the background of what you're printing onto to make it look more lighter so that your image that you're printing on stands out, right? So I'm using the fabulous music page, and I just want to knock it back a little bit more so my print turns out Transparent Mixing White. Now, I'll put it in the description under the video because that's where all the information is. Rolling it on the plate over the transfer, putting down the fabulous music page, letting it dry just a couple of minutes, and then pulling it up. Ta-da, ta-da! Look how good she looks. I think it looks fabulous. You can still see the music notes and the lines behind her, but she's standing in front a lot better with that transparent mixing white and having a little bit of white paint on the pages. She's still got the notes running through her, and I think they look fabulous. Creates a little edge to the transfer. She'll look good in a collage. The music pages are fabulous for creating textures with your prints. and they look glorious. Now, the dollar store white tissue is a fabulous paper for using with the image transfers, but there is a trick to it. You have to be quick. So I'm putting on this transfer. It's one of the fabulous Venice images that I have, straight onto the plate with the muted turquoise in the Liquitex. Works beautiful. And I'm putting the white tissue on straight away. I'm not letting it dry. I don't want to pull it with a color because I want to create an image transfer that's got a transparent background that I can create layers on in my collage. So the print is down. I've put the tissue on straight away. Don't leave it very long and then pull it off. Because it's dollar store tissue, you do have to be a little gentle. You have to take it a bit slower and you have to pull it off straight away. Don't leave it because it will stick and then it will tear to pieces when you go to pull it off. But it does work really well, and look how fabulous the print is. And then I can put it in a collage and I can put layers of papers on it, and it's just beautiful. Now you can do the same with the black dollar store tissue. It works just as well. This is my photo from Naples. Oh, I love my trips. Color laser copy print, putting it on the plate with gold. You can't see it hugely, but it's stunning once you get that black tissue on it. Again, straight on the plate. Don't let it sit for too long and then pull it straight off. Sometimes the edge of the print will tear where there's a buildup of the paint because it's dollar store tissue. You do have to be careful. You do need to go a bit slower, but when you get it off the plate, look how fabulous it looks. That's going to be great in collage. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You don't even have to wait for that one to dry. This is a technique for impatient people. Put it on the plate, pull it off, it's done, away we go. Now these two next prints, I'm doing exactly the same, putting the image transfer on the plate with the rich gold, pulling it straight off with the black tissue. But these two prints are second chance prints. That's what I've called them. I've already pulled a print with that particular color laser copy earlier, and now I'm using it a second time on the plate. I love experimenting with this idea because you want to get a lot of bang for your buck. Yes? Those color laser prints cost me down at the warehouse stationery. They're quite expensive. So if I can get 2 prints out of each particular print copy, eureka! It's a happy day. So I'm using the gold, putting it on the plate, pulling with the black tissue straight away. The prints look fabulous. They're going to work in some kind of collage, and I got to use the print copy twice. Okay, so we're using free papers or really cheap papers from the dollar store today, and we're making fabulous collage. So it's going to get a little experimental. Some of them work, some of them don't, but that's okay. That's the creative process, and that's what we're here to do, is to make interesting art. So I've got this bag. It actually came with stencils I received from PM Artist Studio. Thanks, Mariah. Because Mariah's bags, if you have a feel of them, they feel like glassine. I don't know what they're made of, but I'm like, you can print on that. So we're going to give it a try. I've got an image transfer, beautiful picture of a door. I actually think I got this one from Unsplash. So have a look there, royalty-free website, color laser copy print. I'm going to keep saying it until you stop asking me. And away we go. It's on the plate with some muted grey. Yes, Liquitex, muted range, full body. Love it. It's my favourite right now. On the plate it goes, and then I'm going to put a little bit of my favourite Isaac Bronze shimmer over the top of that image transfer. I want to create some textures. I want to get some layers happening. You do have to wait for this one to dry. Don't forget. Let it dry, then come back. Okay, so then I roll a little bit of some transparent red iron oxide just in some areas on the plate over the beautiful door image just to add another color. And when that layer's dry, I put it on with Titan Buff, the golden Titan Buff, rolled it on and put my plastic bag piece of paper on the top. I know, right? It was free. You may as well try it. Now, I did leave this for a while before I pulled it up because it's quite plasticky, very much glassine-like. So I can't remember how long I left it for. Maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. I left it for a while because I wandered off and did something else. And then I came back and pulled it up. Ta-da, ta-da, it looks fabulous. Now, it did crinkle a little, probably because I did have a lot of paint on it, probably too much of the Titan Buff. I do tend to do that. So it did crinkle because it does have that plastic in it. But I think that the crinkles really contribute to the print anyway. It doesn't look bad. It just looks like a kind of rugged looking authentic door with cracks in it. So I don't think we're losing on this one. I think this one is a winner. The next one, not so much. So I'm rummaging through my drawers now, getting all excited, wanting to experiment with what other papers can I use. And I pulled out this one. It's actually from the florist. I must have bought something, maybe when I was printing flowers. It feels very plasticky. I'm a little suspicious if this is going to work, but I have to try it. I'm on a roll. We're in a creative frenzy now. So I cut a piece off. I'm getting it ready. I decided to use this one of my Venice photos. It works really well as an image transfer. Put it on the plate with some of the beautiful rich gold when it was dry. And then I used the favorite of mine, the Quin Red Violet, to put the layer on to pull the print. Now, I left the print a good half an hour at least, because I felt that the paper being so plasticky probably needed that time to dry, because you got the gel plate and you got plastic and there's no air getting in, so it's not drying, it's not absorbent, but you got to try. And when I pulled it off, it was just as wet as when I put it down. It didn't dry at all. Touch it. Oh, it's still wet. So that really actually didn't work. So I pulled it off, I let the plate dry, and I let the print dry. And when the plate was dry, which really didn't take very long because now it's got air in it, it can absorb the moisture, it's dried the print, I put on my favorite bronze. It fixes everything. And then I pulled the print, which will make a nice textured background. It's a beautiful color. It's got nice texture on it. It'll work for something. It's another piece for the collage box. And also when my plastic floristry paper print dried, which it did once the air got to it, I stamped on some crosses in my favorite bronze. And I'm winning. I still got 2 fabulous prints for my collage box. Didn't quite go according to plan, but that's what you have to do. You have to experiment, you have to try. Don't get down on yourself if it doesn't work or it's not going how you planned. Just take another print, do another layer, add some stencils and some stamps. Collage over the top of it. There's so many ways to use it. Paper is paper, baby. We can always use it. We can always make another layer and nothing goes to waste. So after all these fabulous image transfers that I've been pulling, I've got a really nice roll off sheet because I was rolling off in between. I tend to put too much paint on. I always do. Roll it off on a roll off sheet and then you've got another piece of paper to print with. So I've pulled out this particular image. I think I got it from Unsplash. It's going to look fabulous on the plate with the muted grey, I'm thinking. On the plate with the muted grey, look how good it looks. It just transferred beautifully. So much texture, so much ruggedness to the look of this door. So I'm thinking it should work well with my roll-off print. Again, I'm going to pull it with the transparent mixing white because I want to knock back the background, but I want a little bit of that texture coming through. I just don't want it to overwhelm my image transfer. Put it down, put the fabulous roll-off paper on, left it for probably 5 minutes. I didn't want to leave it too long. I thought it might stick, but you have to give it some time to actually dry and pull that print up. Pulled the print up, ta-da, ta-da! It looks beautiful. I'm pretty happy with it. See how it's got a slight kind of purple tint to it? That's because it's picking up the muted grey when I put on the transparent mixing white. I don't mind it. I think it looks really interesting. And I think it would make a really nice piece for some kind of textural, ruggedy looking collage that I want to create using a really nice door. So In the collage box it'll go. It's gonna look fabulous for a future project. And it's such a good way to use up the roll-off sheets, don't you think? Well, now I have an absolute abundance of papers. They're all over my floor, they're all over my table, they're everywhere. And they're going to make some fabulous collage papers. But I think we're going to do that next week. So you'll have to come back and see what I make with these fabulous papers. Thanks for joining me today. I love creating like this. I love creating in a frenzy, especially jelly printing, stamping, stenciling, making papers, experimenting. Even if they don't work out as you plan or how you want them to, you don't worry about that. You just push on, put another layer on top, create something else, and then you'll have some more beautiful papers to use. Don't forget, you'll find more information in the description under the video where you get my stamps and stencils. Papers I'm using, well, the papers I'm using came from my packaging, so you might have a heap of yours. Get creative, have a little experiment, see what fabulous papers you can create and prints that you can make, and come and show me in my Facebook group, because I'd love to see what other textures you've found from around your house. See you next week. Let's make some collage. Maybe we'll use an art journal. Oh, what about I get one of those concertina art journals again? Yes, I loved that. Okay, we're going to do that. See you then.